Today is Wednesday, May 25th, 2022.
The end of the school year.
End of my 22nd year of teaching. You are currently in my 5th grade classroom, possibly my last traditional classroom ever.
Tell me about this school year.
First of all, we started the year in masks. So all of us were in masks. A lot of COVID protocol, right? We were still trying to do distancing, but not as far. A lot of hand washing, a lot of hand sanitizer, right? A lot of protocol in place. So this year, it was decided that everybody in the building, right? We were all going to be in person, and that was weird. One of my students tested positive, so we got sent home from October 19th through November 4th-ish. My class had another positive case. And we made it to the Thursday before Thanksgiving break, and a staff member tested positive. But the staff member exposed the office, and because the office had to shut down and sent all of us home. And that was about the time that COVID numbers were escalating rapidly. Mm-hmm. So the district decided between Thanksgiving and Christmas, we would be home, all of us, remote, the whole district. And then the deal was we were not going to quarantine entire classes. We were just going to send kids home. And somewhere along the line, it went from 10 days to 5 days. So kiddos being gone were a lot more manageable, right? And I feel like this year went by so fast, so fast. I think probably one of the best parts about the year was just having the same consistent group of kids day in and day out. Tough parts about this year, attendance. Ugh. But attendance has always been kind of like the hill I die on, is kind of the phrase. Like, I really am a stickler about being in school. That's kind of a pet peeve of mine. Like, kids only have one profession right now. Their only job is to go to school. And pre-pandemic, that was annoying, especially in middle school. Like, when do you don't get to opt out of learning. Like, you need to be here. And so the hardest part for me this year was that the pandemic gave people the opportunity to skip out on life. And so then kids came back to school, and some of my students hadn't been in school since spring of 20. They had been remote, and all of a sudden you had to follow a routine. You had to get out of your pajamas. You had to engage with humans face to face. You had to use social skills. You had to use fine motor skills. You had to follow expectations. And so that was tough. And so I had really awful attendance. Awful, which impacts growth, which impacts social skills, which impacts transition to middle school. So I think that was, if I were to say the hardest part, it would be the attendance and the impact of not being at school. 18 days is like when there is chronic truancy, something along that line, that there's like significant concern. I had 10 kids past that.
So what do you do?
Do the best you can in your classroom.
And what does that mean?
Try your best to get them caught up when they get here. But when a kiddo has missed, I have a student that's missed nearly 60 days out of 186. What do you do? Right? And like everything spirals. So if you missed the unit on multi-digit multiplication in October, and then we bust out multi-digit multiplication with fractions in April, May, and then you missed 40 days in 4th grade, And you missed 30 days in third grade when you really introduced multiplication. You don't have those those foundations, those blocks, those building blocks. My true concern is this, is that we do not retain because of attendance. And so we pass these kids on, and then they get to their freshman year, and they're failing a class, and they're ineligible for on-time graduation. My thought was, and I don't have a leg to stand on, is that truancy should be addressed in kindergarten.
Wait a minute. We believe that Dana actually does have a leg to stand on, and here's why. Dr. Fred Jones, a popular classroom management guru, has been addressing issues like this for years. In his book, Tools for Teaching, and also in his training seminars, Dr. Jones talks about what he calls the helpless hand raisers. These are students that have plagued our classrooms since the foundation of mandated public education. These helpless hand raisers sit in our classrooms, and rather than paying attention during instruction, they wait for guided practice so they can get the teacher to give them personalized help. Let's see what Dr. Jones has to say about the long-term effects of helpless hand raising.
Let me ask you another question. How long can the kid play that game before they finally look up and don't recognize anything you're doing at the board? Or to put it in slightly different terms, when do kids drop out of school? How about third grade? Because now you're on your times table and the kid doesn't know their addition facts. When do you start spotting it? About fourth grade. When does it become obvious? About fifth grade. But you already lose them in the third grade.
Before the pandemic, these helpless hand raisers at least sat in our classes without paying attention. The pandemic, however, has taken helpless hand raising to a whole new level. These students no longer are sitting in our classrooms not paying attention. They are simply staying home because it's easier that way. As teachers already know, some students notoriously always take the easiest route to education. So for 18 months or more, many of these helpless hand raisers sat at home. They were completely removed and disengaged from education. Some elementary school teachers have commented to us that these students left as third graders in the spring of 2020 and returned in the fall of 2021, both socially and academically still third graders. But here's the problem. They returned to the fifth grade classroom with third grade skills. Despite the teacher's best effort and Dana's best efforts.
So what do you do?
Do the best you can in your classroom.
And what does that mean?
Try your best to get them caught up when they get here.
Many of these students who checked out of education during the pandemic will not be able to catch up with their peers and will end up dropping out of school, as Dr. Jones has pointed out. So let's get back to Dana and see what she has to say.
Have a leg to stand on, is that truancy should be addressed in kindergarten. Truancy should be addressed with the littles. That's when we should be talking to parents, we shouldn't be talking to seniors in high school. We should be working with the littles and having a conversation. Because if we build this icky pattern in kindergarten, first grade, and we don't address it, and then all of a sudden at 17, 18, we're trying to convince a kid to come to school when we haven't been having an impact before that, it just falls on deaf ears. We should be talking to the kindergarten parents. That's who truancy should be working with.
It is time to say thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
meeting us.
All right, friends, I will see you in 2023. You are currently in my fifth grade classroom, possibly my last traditional classroom ever. I may hate it and go back to the classroom. I may love it and extend my career for another 2 decades.
Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Also, check out some of these other Teacher Talk videos. At Teacher Talk, we give teachers a voice. So join the conversation and help us keep teachers in the profession. Thanks for watching.